Bernadette Kaiser with MSU Extension, and if you just watched the DVD that we made, then you will have noticed that I presented Mari with our roasted butternut squash and couscous salad. So I am happy to say that she enjoyed it very much. And today we are going to make the whole recipe so that you will know exactly what to do and also know all the benefits from it. The first thing that we need to do with the recipe is get our butternut squash. Now, for the sake of time, I did cut it in half, but you want to make sure that you always wash off any fruits or vegetables that you use. A little wet paper towel, and we're just going to make sure that we have all the dirt and any bacteria that may be on there. We want to get rid of it, because even if you're not eating the peel, once that knife touches the peel, it's any bacteria that's on the skin will go right through to your fruit or your vegetable. Once we've done that, we are going to take, and I have a wide peeler right here. If you do not have one exactly like this, you could use a potato peeler. It might struggle just a little bit more, but it can be done. Also, you can cut your squash in half and you can put it in the microwave for a few minutes, and then that will loosen up the skin if you don't have either one. I'm just going to take right and hold my squash like this, start at the top, and go down. Now, if it was whole, that would not happen. So since I have a flat surface, I'm going to lay it down, and I'm just going to go like this. And you can see that just peels so beautifully. Now, one of the things I really love about butternut squash, well, besides the taste, is that the color is absolutely gorgeous. It's a bright orange, and it is perfect. When we talk about having a variety of color, orange is a beautiful color, especially this time of year. Squash is in season, so it's a good time to take advantage of this. And because of the holiday that's coming up, we can use it to make a variety of different recipes, not just the one that I'm showing you today. All right, so we've got this side peeled. So all I'm going to do is move all of my garbage right over to the side here. And then the next thing I do is I cut the ends. So I'm going to take and I'm going to cut off that end, so I've got that all taken care of. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, because I'm not going to try and get that little bit. I'm just going to get rid of it. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you are going to roast any type of vegetable is you want all of the vegetables to be uniform. And the reason for that is because if you have a large piece and then a small piece, you're going to end up having one that's not done and one that's burnt. So you can kind of judge the size you want. I normally like it to be bite size, so I'll show you how I would normally do that. You can see that I'm just making it about that, maybe a ½ inch thick. And I'm going to go all the way through. But when I get down here, I'm going to turn it over because I want you to see that on this end we got a little bowl here that has some seeds, and it's real easy to get rid of. Take a spoon. In this case, I just have a measuring spoon here, and I'm just going to scrape. I want to get all the seeds out. Let's just kind of move this around a little bit. So we're going to get all the seeds out. So it's not very difficult to do. Now, another thing that is wonderful besides the color and the taste of butternut squash is that butternut squash has the 3 essential nutrients that help to limit the absorption of lead in our body: calcium, iron, and vitamin C. So it's not just good as far as eating, it's beautiful to look at, and it's good for your body. So the butternut squash is a wonderful thing to have, too, because of the nutrients that help us limit the absorption of lead. So now I'm just going to move this over, and for the sake of being able to show you how to do this, we're going to take and we're going to cut slices, okay? And you can see that all I'm going to do now is just have little chunks. And I've already got some that's already cut in here, so let's just put this in here. We're going to get a little bit more cut up, and then we'll mix it up. Now, if you have not had butternut squash before, do not be afraid to try it. You have got to try a food a minimum of 15 to 20 times before you'll even start to acquire a taste for it. And something else to remember is our taste buds change every 7 years. And if you are going to get all the nutrients that your body needs, then you have to be willing to taste some foods that maybe you're not used to. And so let's say you've tasted butternut squash before and you think, oh my gosh, I did not like that at all. Well, don't be afraid to try this recipe, because you might just love it in this recipe. It might have just been the way the recipe, the recipe that was used before. So don't be afraid to try food. Just try it in different recipes so that you can figure out what you like and don't like. Let's do this last one here. And once that's done, we'll get that in the oven, so we'll be all set. There we go. Okay, we're going to move this over here, and we're going to get rid of our trash. Because I don't know about you, but it's too hard to work when you have all this trash in front of you. So let's get rid of it. There we go. Now, what we're going to do is get our baking sheet, bring that over here and set it right down. And once we have it, we're going to take our squash and we're going to spread our squash out on here. Doesn't that look pretty? I just love this color. Okay, so we've got our squash here. Now we're going to take and put a little bit of olive oil on. We're just going to drizzle a little bit on there. And the reason we're doing that is we want to be able to mix it together, and we want our salt and pepper to be able to stick. So I'm just going to take and just put a little bit. There we go. Now, it didn't get spread out, but that's okay, because once I get my hands in here and start mixing it, it'll be fine. Put a little bit of pepper. We're going to add a little bit of salt. And then we're just going to get our hands right in there and get them dirty. Now, the reason I'm doing it in the pan is, I don't know about you, but why dirty a bowl to mix it? Let's just mix it right in the pan, make it nice and mixed up here. So we've got a little bit of oil. We've got all of our seasonings on there. This is the toughest part of the whole recipe. We're going to take now, I'm going to put it in an oven that has been preheated to 425. And we're going to let it cook for about 20 to 25 minutes. And then once that's done, we really only have to just put our salad together and make our dressing. It's a really quick recipe. Over here on the stove, I already have our couscous prepared. So easy. Another grain that is wonderful. Whole grain that has, let me see, is it iron and vitamin C? So we have 2 of those key nutrients in there, and that's important. We've already talked about 2 ingredients in the recipe that has the key ingredients that we need to limit the absorption of lead. So that's, when you're preparing recipes, if you can come up with, find recipes that have foods like that, that's a good thing. So we've got that prepared. We're going to take our pecans, which again is another ingredient in our recipe that has all 3 of the key nutrients: iron, calcium, and vitamin C. Anytime you use nuts, you want to cook them and roast them just a little bit, because you want to smell that aroma, and that brings out the flavor. So when you put it in your salad or whatever dish you're making, you really get the intense flavor of the nut. So I've got the fire that we're going to turn on real quick. We're just going to pour our nuts in there. And the one thing I can tell you is don't leave them. You do not leave your nuts on the stove, because from personal experience, I can tell you, I've burnt them, and you cannot eat them when they're burnt. They are not very good. So you're just going to stir them just a minute, and once you smell that beautiful aroma, turn the fire off, move them aside, and you're good to go. So we've got our nuts all taken care of. So the only thing we have left to do is really put our salad together. So let's get our spinach here. Now, I love spinach. And again, spinach is one of those greens that has all three of those key nutrients that our body needs to limit the absorption of lead. And I keep saying this because it's important that you realize that there are a variety of foods that we eat from each food group that gives you those nutrients. And before we actually put it together, I do want to show you the My Plate. There is not a secret to being able to help yourself limit that absorption of lead in your body. All you have to do is eat from the 5 food groups. If you are eating the correct amount of calories that you should, and it's going to vary for everyone in here, then you will be getting exactly what you need. So this is what I would suggest that you do, is go to choosemyplate.gov, and when you get on that website, you can actually find out how many calories you should be taking in, as well as get a breakdown on each food group so you know exactly what you should be taking in from each food group. I've got the salad, we've got our lettuce, or our spinach. Now what I'm gonna take and do is I'm just gonna kind of fluff up our couscous. And that's all you do, is you just kind of fluff it up. I just love this grain. It's one of those grains that it's easy. And I don't know about you, but I like easy. Easy is good in my book. So I'm just gonna we're gonna fluff it up a little bit more, and then we're gonna put it in, or on top of our greens. There we go. I think I might just use my hand once I get some gloves on there. So we'll sprinkle our couscous on top, and once the couscous is on top, I'm gonna pull our, put our cranberries, our onions, our pecans, and then we'll pull out our roasted butternut squash and sprinkle it on top, and then make our dressing. So here we go. Now, I'm a woman that cooks with my hands. So don't be afraid to use your hands, just make sure they're clean. That's all I ask. So I'm just gonna take, and I'm just gonna sprinkle this on top. And why do I wanna do it with my hands? It clumps up a little bit from sitting, so I don't want it to clump up. So I'm just gonna do it like this. And this is nice and warm. Now I will tell you that I have a cooking class that I do, and we made this couscous salad and roasted butternut squash, and no one had it before. And everybody was kind of wondering what they were gonna think. And when they took a bite of this salad, everyone in that class went, oh my gosh. They could not believe how delicious it was. So I can guarantee you, you are gonna be surprised. So here we go. We're gonna sprinkle our cranberries, and again, if they're kind of lumped together, just pull them apart. Then we've got our onions. Okay, and then I've already roasted some pecans. Now, if we did nothing else, that looks good, I think. So, let's get our, oh, too bad you can't smell this. Now, that looks delicious. That's all I got to say. It looks delicious. So now what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna I'm gonna scrape this a little bit, and I'm just gonna put it right here. I tell you, there is nothing that is as good as looking at a recipe and seeing all the wonderful colors, knowing that it tastes absolutely delicious and that it's healthy for you. There you go. Now, I'm just going to take, well, I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to move this, and I'm going to put this right here. And I'm going to use my bowl that I had my raw squash in, and I'm going to mix my dressing together. Now, the dressing calls for Dijon mustard. I'm a firm believer that when it comes to cooking, you cook with what's on hand. So that means that if you know you're going to prepare a recipe, then hopefully you have, after you've done your meal planning, you've put that on the grocery list and you know you got to get it. But just in case you forgot, don't feel like you should run out to the grocery store for one little item. The Dijon mustard does have a very beautiful flavor, but if you don't have it, work with what you've got. I cannot guarantee how it tastes with another mustard, but the only way you're going to find out is if you're to try it. That's how we come up with all these wonderful recipes. It's experimenting. So here we're going to put some orange juice in here. Get that little bit out. We've got our orange juice, and right here we've got our Dijon mustard. We'll put that in. There we go. And then we've got our honey. Well, first I think I'm going to put this in. We'll put a little bit of garlic powder, okay? Well, maybe, there we go. I got it off, didn't take too long. We're just going to put a little bit in. And now we're going to go with the honey. Now, something about honey is this is honey that I bought right from the local grocer. It's local honey. I am a firm believer in buying local. We are supporting our local businesses. We are eating food that we know how it's been grown. We don't have any question as to how it's been prepared or anything because we know our farmer. In this case, with the honey, local honey has been, I've heard, can help with allergies as well. So, since I have allergies, I do try it, and it has helped. I think it depends on how serious your allergies are. But you know what? Local is always better, and I always encourage that. Okay, now we've got a little bit of apple cider vinegar. We've got our olive oil, and I've not experimented a lot with the olive oil and other oils as far as making this salad. So I'm going to say that I can't guarantee the different taste. I think if you didn't have olive oil, I would say that you might want to experiment with what you have. There's not a lot of ingredients that you have to use, so don't be afraid to do that. And then I'm going to add some pepper, some salt, just a little bit, because we don't want too much. If we get too much in there, we can't take it out, but we can always add. And then I'm just going to get my whisk. If you don't have a whisk, you use a fork. So we're going to mix it up. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you buy the local honey, it does crystallize a lot faster than honey that you buy at the store, because the honey at the store has been processed. This has not been processed. So, see, look at that. Isn't that just, doesn't that look delicious? To me, that just looks yummy. Okay, now we're going to put it on our salad. And then we're going to serve it to the family, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh. They're going to think you took forever. They're going to thank you over and over again as they're saying, oh, that is so, so good. So let's do this. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of take, and you just got to mix it up like this. Get everything good and mixed. Because you want to have a little bit of that dressing on all of those leaves. And if you do that, then you won't feel the need to keep adding more dressing. Because normally people want to keep adding dressing because of the fact that they they put the dressing on top, they eat it, and they think, oh my gosh, I have no more dressing. Well, you don't have to do that. Okay, here we go. Now at home, I would sample this to make sure that all my dressing was mixed in there beautifully. Oops, we missed a little right here. I dropped it out, but there we go. We've got our salad. You're gonna love it when you make it at home. And I want to just remind you, there are resources out there to help you to get food. That's important for you to know that there are people out there that want to help. There is also a cooking class that we do where you prepare a recipe and then you get the groceries to take home so that you can prepare that recipe for your family. So you get to try and experiment with some different recipes without having to spend the money. The nice thing about it is it's free. So please call MSU Extension. Give me a call. It's Lynette Kaiser with MSU Extension. Call the health department. Call. Do not hesitate to ask for help because there's people that want to help. And you have every right to be able to have access to food just like others. I've got my taste testers here, and as you can see by the smiles on their faces, they are enjoying this recipe. The couscous salad and roasted butternut squash not only tastes good, but is absolutely delicious and healthy for you. I'm Lynette Kaiser with MSU Extension. We're at the Farmers Market. Enjoy.